not sure what's going on. Just 1 second. What's happening here? Give me a sec, folks. Look at this. We got it. We figured it out. We were having technical difficulties here. Sorry for that. I apologize. All right. So hopefully you can hear me okay. Yeah. I don't know what it is sometimes. You click a button and then maybe you accidentally double click said button and then suddenly you're in the weeds. So, hi, Linda. Hi, Tim. Hi, Chris. Okay. Hi, anybody else that's joining in with us? So I've got on the screen the finished colored page that we did yesterday. And I'm happy, joy about it. So, which is always good. Now, in addition to that, just give me 1 second. I colored a few more things. I colored this. And I colored, just a second, Corbin. Corbin wants to say hi. And I colored this. And I colored this. So a bunch of things just to finish the lettering on, but that's all fun in the sun. This page is, however, the one that we finished off and posted this morning. So there we go. I got a suggestion today from our good pal Linda, and that is Zimmer frames as hoverboards. They have seats. It's a fun suggestion. So I'm going to switch to my overhead. So what I got set up now is that I've taken my cell phone. Okay, just get it over with. Hey everybody, how you doing? It's me, it's Corbin. You remember me? Dad doesn't let me on the show all the time, and Applebutt had enough of it. I'm going to plot a revolution. Get out of here, revolution. Okay, so everybody says hi, Corbin. All right, let's get my mug out of the way. So this is craft paper. It's 24 inches by 12, so 1 by 2 feet. And it comes from this series called the Recollections cardstock paper set. It's 30 sheets. It's 5 different kinds of paper. There's a gray, there's the craft paper, there's a cream color, there's the black, and there's the white. I am so blown away by all of the medium that I can use on these. And so here's the back of a sheet, okay? And this is all the bleed you get from Sharpies. How you doing, Salty? So this is all the bleed you get from Sharpies. And I was just scattering mess on this thing. This is drawing with Pilot Parallel pen, doesn't go through. This is throwing down Sharpies. It doesn't necessarily go through. With the blue, it's just, you only see a little bit with the blue and the black. This is brush. This is one of my homemade pens, right? Where we can draw in ink. Load it with permanent ink so that you can go over it in color like this. And despite that, I'll show you. That's the area I just showed you with the color over the ink. So this is just scribbling and doodling nonsense, but I'm really, really blown away by how much, attack this paper can handle. Right, Corbin? Corbin says, right on. So we've got, what have I got loaded? I've got a cream colored one. I've got a gray colored one. And I've got a craft paper. Is there any? It's a great heavy paper, good choice of colors too. Oh yeah, absolutely fantastic. It's one of those things where when you get something like this, and the fact that there's not just, it's a stock of white, what a blessing. All the diversity we see in this here world block of paper. So, you know what I mean. All right, so I've got craft paper or gray paper or white paper. The black paper and, I'm sorry, cream, gray, craft. The black paper and the white paper is over there. And yeah, I just didn't drag it over. So if there's any preferences, let me know. And while you're waiting, Corbin and I are going to have a relaxing moment of having a sip of some lemonade. Just a little bit. Can you stop climbing? He's climbing. He climbs. He's a climber now. Just say hi. Here he is. Hey, how you doing? It's me. I'm back. It's Corbin. The revolution has succeeded. Look at me. I'm in charge of the show. Want to see me draw some pictures? Bup, bup, bup. Drawing. All right, get out of the way. Okay. Hi, Seven. Welcome aboard. Okay, let's get my big, our silly faces off here, Corbin. You're a silly guy. So today's suggestion is Zimmer frames. Zimmer frames as hoverboards. Zimmer frames are walkers. I've had to use one myself at one point. So let's come up with a story for this. I haven't got anything specifically in mind, but we're just going to have some fun. I like the idea a lot. It's a great idea, Linda. Thank you for sending it. So, well, I haven't heard anything. So I think that what I'm going to do is, let's see how this, this pencil will make a mark on this craft paper. So let's start by drawing a black pencil, and then we'll go from there. So, I don't have any plan here. I don't have any idea. So I'm starting at this side of the paper. So I moved the camera over so that I can get this side of the paper. Hopefully it's a much clearer image because we are using my cell phone now. So there's the top of the paper. That's the bottom of the paper. So you should mostly be in frame. That's the theory. Hold on a second. You got to hear something. That is the sound of Corbin purring. Okay. All right. Get to work, Rutzman. You crazy monkey. All right. So I'm going to start drawing one of our two characters, and hopefully it's going to show up. If this isn't easy to see, maybe what I'll do is just switch the Sharpie. No, I think you can see it. Okay. So what I'll do is that I'll get a white pencil and I'll immediately start putting white pencil in here as well as we go. So keeping it hip hop happening for all the kids back home. So I thought we would start off with having one of our characters regaling us with how the world is so much different now. So one of the fun things at the page like this is, trying to celebrate the differences, right? We've all of us got lots of differences, and there's great opportunities for us to find those and to to sing the praises of them. There's a Staedtler pen. And the point just jumped right off. It said, "Let me out of here." So, in a story like this, where the immediate thought is, oh, we're going to have something fun and potentially poking barbs at your own characters, which I do occasionally, but it's generally with things like, anamorphic characters, anthropomorphized characters. And just because that's funny to me, taking a quirk of humanity and exploring it through a fish person, So I'm just going to put this pencil, because it's very tiny, inside this holder. And look at this. We're cooking with the gasolines. So So as I'm drawing our character, let's see if I can get that to focus a little clearer. That's a little better. So we'll start putting in our character, and the idea is in my head. This is the only idea I have for this right now. Is reflection, and when we contextualize a character's perspective on something, and you have them look back on and reminisce on something that they really enjoyed at one point in time. And then as we're engaged in our current story, in our current context, that recollection, that reflection comes to bear on the current moment. So if I have, let's say, somebody relating to, I used to love riding a bicycle, and I remember when I first learned how. And it's just not the same. I don't get to ride bicycles like I used to anymore. And that's okay. We've made up for it. And then you can have your character zipping along in a related context. So in this case, the suggestion is Zimmer boards. I'm sorry, Zimmer frames as hoverboards. So, that's great because that gives us the opportunity to explore that notion. But um, what it challenges me with in my initial idea is, how do I try to find some kind of humanity in our character? How can I make our character somehow relatable for readers? You know, and of course, the number one go to for that is the human experience. So, the people reading this may well remember they rode a bike and what those experiences were and what those sensations were. And, you know, as a creator, we don't share that relationship for the most part with people that read our material because it's sort of a one-way street. Doing these things live, we get a little bit of interaction, but it's also important to follow your own idea that comes into your head as much as it's great. And I love interaction and input with folks, but I'm going to take a turn in the story in a way that relates directly to how I think. And these characters that I'm using are just another vehicle for me to express those ideas of the world we live in. I've been advocating strongly of late that these chances that we have to creatively express ourselves are real great opportunities to, try to bring some positivity into the world here. Try to do so in a positive way, and to to look up, not so much to punch down. Sorry, I'll keep doing that every now and then if the focus starts getting blurry. I apologize. But I'm filming to my cell phone now, which is so much better than the overhead cameras I've been using that I could not get to stop being blurry. So, here's our narrative voice, and I've already given out the perspective on story that I just came up with on the draw there from the initial idea, which is what happens, right? When we're creating, we'll have insights and notions that didn't exist before we started putting mark making tools to surface. And as soon as I started, chatting while drawing, wow, the whole thing just sort of formulates itself in the head, right? There's some beautiful lines in the face. I love character. Here's something to pass on. If you're designing characters for anything, don't make everybody pretty and, supermodels that are 20 years old. Draw real people because it's far more relatable, real people. We want to see people that are normal like us. I mean, there's times and places in certain types of fiction and literature where you want to see some idealized whatnot. But to me, I think that if you populate your stories with more recognizable recognizable characters, I think people are going to appreciate that more. I don't know. Again, what do I know? I still say that my biggest fan lives in a small hut someplace in a very remote part of our world. And a page from one of my books is blown through on the wind, landed at their feet, and they look at it and go, "This is what makes sense to me." And that is their treasured image. And they appreciate it, and their entire worldview on creativity is through one page. And hopefully it's a good one. But I'll never know. Yeah, beautiful model drawing hands, just like in Zoolander. Good Lord. I don't know. You want to see my Max Steel look? Okay. There's some funny moments in that film, and then there's some other moments where you're like, oh, good heavens. It's more of a this is terrible, not a this is funny. Because this is probably speaking some truth. So I'm looking for some of the character defining features in our person's face, so that I'm trying to find some shapes where the skin has adjusted itself over time with as our faces change and the elasticity in our face goes in a different direction. We can't always be babies. Babies, they got it made. They got all the elasticity in the little soft face. That's why they're cute and cherubic. But then the rest of us grow up, and our faces do so as well. But that is in my mind, the blessing and the joy, because that's where our character starts to come through. That's where our experiences come through. When you see a person's face who's lived for years in the Australian outback, and you see how the environment has, adjusted their expression over time. And you can see how they're, they've got some lines in there and they've got some real character defining traits. And depending on, of course, ethnocentricities, there's going to be some recurring features amongst other characters similar to them in the same environment. But for the most part, that face has a whole measure of life on it. So right off the hop, what I'm trying to get here is a happy. I've upturned at the side of the mouth because I want a happy expression. Because again, like I expressed earlier, we're talking about fond reminiscence. And with fond reminiscence, it's not a sour, sourpuss expression. So this is just a black color erase pencil and a white Laurentian pencil crayon that I'm using. So I thought what I would do is I really like in theater and like in film where you'll see shot montages that explain to you about a character in segments. And what I refer to by that is they'll focus on the hands for a moment, focus on them speaking for a moment, focus on their eyes for a moment, focus on that. And it allows two things. It allows one, a whole bunch of narrative beats. There's a whole way to get out a bunch of story there by having these panels where it's just focusing on parts of the character. And again, explaining to the reader that there's all these different characteristics to our person because of their worn hands or their, you know, or their squinty eyes or their, you know, the smile at the edge of their mouth, all those little things. Explore that. If you're drawing pictures of people, explore that. You know, that's the grace and afforded in drawing pictures of people is that you get to come to know those things. I'm, I'm not saying go to the fair and do caricatures of people. I'm talking about if you've got a picture of a model that you're utilizing, even if it's a picture of ourselves, which something that who was it? Was it Rembrandt that did 260 self-portraits, something like that? On one level, you might assume he's narcissistic, but on another level, you look at the quality of the people in his works, and you realize that the fashion problem at the time is that everybody had the goatee and the mustache, and because of genetics in the area, most people had black hair, dark brown hair, light brown hair. So how do you differentiate the night watch? By understanding facial structures, by understanding how people look. So it's it's stuff to look forward to. It's stuff to try to find in your own face as well as in character studies that you might do, and save those things. Don't throw them away. I have all kinds of them that I've done over the years. I've shown a book of models that you can find out there in the marketplace that it's just photo reference of people at different ages and ethnicities and all kinds of different expressions. Look for stuff like that. You know, hopefully, our characters coming together here. People are getting the vibe she's setting down. Do you hip hop hear what she's saying? Yo, my home slices. That's me. I'm Urban Cool. That's about it. That's about as good as it gets there, folks. So I'm trying to get across in this expression that she's thoughtful with her eyes. She's warm to the reminiscence that she's doing right here with her mouth, right? And then she's sort of inviting the reader into this journey in her memory with her. So pressure. Let's talk about pressure. Pressure with your mark making tool gives you a light mark, or heavy pressure gives you a much brighter, but it's actually a much more solid mark, right? So if you want to emphasize light source, don't just put everything of equal pressure. Save the opaque marks that you're putting down for the side where the light is coming from. There's all kinds of things like, hey, draw an apple. Ah, boring. Draw something you like. How you doing, Robert? Welcome aboard, sir. Now, you can also come in with a darker mark making tool to really emphasize these points, and I may well yet, but so far we're just using black drawing pencil, white pencil crayon. But those little emphasis points moves the eye around the face, So I haven't had a name for our character yet. If anybody has a suggestion, please let me know. Or I'm going to call her Buttercup. Anyways. No, please, if you have an idea what you'd like to see this character name, let me know. So Zimmer frames as hoverboards. is our suggested idea. And thank you, Linda, for that. If you've got a one-page story suggestion you want to throw at me, please feel free to put it in the comments on the video. And that way I'll know where to find it once I forget to write it down and it quickly escapes my memory. I'm just letting you know how bad I am. And then we can get that working. This came in yesterday and I was so taken by it. I'm like, yeah, we're doing that tomorrow. That's good fun in the sun. Because I did not enjoy my time with a Zimmer frame. But, life takes us in different ways, and sometimes we need to have some time with the thing. Sometimes it's like I had to use my cane recently this year. I've had that put aside in storage and moved it with me until we got into this house. That this is something that happened 25 years ago. It's just because it's hard to find that cane that fits a person who's 5'18". So, but my physio is going good. I just have a little limp now. So again, different pressures gives different opacity to the light, to the marks you're making. I'm sorry. So hopefully the light on this side of the face is more clear to register than that side of the face. And as we go through drawing our character in here, we'll keep encouraging that suggestion. So, Linda says, glad you're doing well now. Thank you, Linda. I appreciate that. Corbin has already left me. He's already abandoned me. He got his little time in the sun to talk about revolution, and then now he's off and snoring again. I can hear him snoring on the other side of my desk. He's got a little cat bed down there, and I've done my job. Now he's off to snore. Snore, Snoresville. So, yeah. I'm on my own. On my own. I don't know what the beep was. No, it's just an announcement. Somebody looked at a thing and said the thing. I got to figure out how to turn those off. Just sharpening a little bit, getting a little more point going on here. So we're moving around the face on our character. I tend to move around something I'm drawing rather than build up the structure and whatnot first. It's just how I work. There's no right or wrong way. It's what works for you. So one of the things that I've been doing is model studies again. Two ways. One is I'm doing a really basic representation of a number of characters off of a book that I'm going to be working on, pre-existing characters for someone else. And so I'm trying to do a little quick kind of a glossary or like an artist Bible type thing of all these different characters through it, so that I can populate foreground and background with the different people in this contextual narrative. And then the other thing that I'm doing, there are life model drawing videos on YouTube. Now, if you don't have the capability to go to a live model session, or you don't want to go to a live model session because ew, or whatever your reasoning is, there's live model drawing sessions on YouTube, and they give you countdown clocks, like they'll do different durations for the posing, so that it's very, very similar to how it works in person. So if you want to practice drawing folks, that's a great way to do it. And something to think about. But anyways, I've gone back to I do this all the time where I'll just go back and just figural drawing. And I do it on printer paper. I still want to call it typewriter paper. I'll do it on printer paper, and it's just a stack of them in my studio. I'm not going to show them because it's the human form. I had students get a hold of one of my sketchbooks that I'd left on my desk while I was talking to somebody else, and they go flipping through it, and they saw these basic form studies, and it's not nude people. I'm not drawing all the nude business. It's just shapes, right? Predominant shapes of the body. And they're like, oh my goodness, these people are blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, 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 they're not. No. So I'm reserved about showing things because we get enough of that day to day. You find a lot of that. One of them Bradley Pitt movies. I don't know. So here's our reminiscing character. Hopefully, the idea is coming across about how she's thinking, she's recollecting what it was to be a young girl and ride a bicycle. And this is a liberty that I'm taking. I'm going to be completely straightforward about this. This is a real liberty when I get suggestions in and I'm like, I'm going to do it about this. Hopefully it's done with, some measure of relational sense to the person who sent in the suggestion, but not always. So it's important that we, again, be conscientious and positive in our storytelling, but at the same time, you're not speaking for another person. You're just crafting story in your own interesting way. Do not be afraid of the forehead. Or the eyebrow. Do not fear the eyebrow. So here's our first character coming through now. I feel like you can finally identify more of this person as a person because we've got all the different aspects of the head here. It's not just a floating set of eyeballs. So I'm going to draw their ear in. So I'm still just using this black color erase pencil, which I haven't, erased much of it, but that's okay. The point isn't to be hip hop happy crazy for erasing. The point is that you have the possibility to correct yourself. Wait. Here comes the honky pencil. Honky pencil. All right. So now we're just tying together these different planes in the face and emphasizing other areas with a little more pressure. We're going to get into some furrow brow in a moment. Oh, that's very nice. Thank you, Seven. I appreciate that. Seven Lace coming in here for all of our crazy shenanigans. So I keep talking about this as a two-color drawing. It's not. I have been telling you fibs the entire time, and I'm sorry for that. But we're all more experienced now than we were 5 minutes ago. So it's time to let you in on the more secret truths of the great big wide old world. There's 3 colors. What? You can see there's 3 colors. There's the color of the paper itself, the craft paper that we're using. And then we've got the black marks that we're putting down. And we've got the survey says white marks that we're putting down. You can even get a little more specific about how opaque, the hardness, the softness of the colors that we are putting down. This is a different white than that is a different white, But let's just say 3. Let's just make it easy on ourselves. We can only count so high before we have to take our socks off. Let's be honest. Anybody that got that joke, you deserve a hamburger. Go out and get yourself a hamburger today. Or eggs. Have some eggs. Or a nice big old salad. Or as I like to call it, salad. Makes it cooler. So I'm putting a hair in now. And again, we've got the neck established here. We're down into the coccyx clavicles, the lower neck area, and then we'll define this just a little bit more. But I want to run a center line on this, so it's not like we're going to do an entire upper body portrait, because the next panel is going to focus on her hands. Her hands. Yep. So I hope people are having fun and exploring different ways to express yourself and trying to do some story making here, and allowing yourselves that the thing that you have inside of your head that you want to put down on whatever the mark making surface is that you're using isn't matching up. That's okay. It takes time. There's kind of ideas that I'll conceive and projects that I'll start, and I'll get X amount of minutes into it and then realize this isn't going the way I wanted it to. I'm so upset. And then I just get melancholic and I walk through the streets kicking a can. And or maybe I don't. Yeah, it just takes time, repetition. Try things out. They're not always going to work. Right? Right. I don't know. Again, one of those ding dong things. Hey, pay attention to this artificial website that demands your attention more so than people do. Hey, what are you doing? Enjoying yourself? No, go on the device and click and swipe and all the things all the crazy things, and don't do the things that you want to do. Serve the algorithm. Okay, so I have no real plan for it, but the top of the page is right at the edge of this pencil. Okay, so I'm just drawing as I'm drawing, and if I go right to the top, I go right to the top. So I'm using the side of the pencil. It's got a soft edge on it. I'm not pressing crazy hard. Nice and light. That's the lovely thing about a craft paper. Not only does that earth tone kick through into your whatever your composition is, but at the same time, it's really great for drawing in pencils and the like, or as well as inks and things. It's it's a real great surface, I find, to work on, but it's very absorbing. So be prepared for that. I'm going to put all these things down and they're going to be really shiny and sparkly, and they might well matte out if you're using like paints or things like that, it may well mat onto the surface because of the properties of the paper itself. I was looking at Arches watercolor paper last time I was at the local art supply shops in the area, Bijan's, the Craft Hive, and shout out to both. And I was thinking about picking up some Arches uh, oil paper. It's made for oil paints, but you can use it for acrylics and all kinds of other things, mixed media. But it can take a lot of abuse because there's fewer things worse than trying to work on paper and having those things just disintegrate while you're working on them because you're working wet and wet or whatever it is. It's too much. It's starting to buckle. I always suggest flat primer coat across the whole paper. Will spare you from that upsetting situation. And this Arches oil-based paper comes in a block, and it's pre-primed, good to go. Get down to it. Or as they say in the family, get down on it. Get down. Okay. All right. I know. Anybody got that in their head now? How are you gonna do it for me? Get yourself up on the floor. All right. So more so than focusing on the background, I might change my mind in 30 seconds. I want to just finish out her body here. And then I'm going to consider darker marks. Some little emphases here and there, little darker areas, little darker points. Giving her a nostril for one. This poor girl needs to breathe. So let's make a choice here. And let's say about here for our bottom line in our panels. Bear with me a second. I'm just going to start that at the opposite side of the page. We know that this next panel is going to be the same level. So I'm just going to do a run across there. All right. Very faint. Sorry you can't see it very well, but bear with me. Oh, yeah, we're going to do it some more. So a little bit of pattern in the top. Just the fun little things. Fun little things to move the eye around, and people go, oh, my grandma had a pattern like that on one of her sweaters. Oh, I've got one of those myself. So this little simple thing goes a fair way to identify her outfit. So that if we cut back over to her again, we want to make sure consistency. This is a fairly defined characteristic in her clothing. So remember it. You can remember it's easier when you're drawing sequential because you just look at the same page. If you're doing a single story like I'm doing, but so there's the start of her sweater blouse, and let's put a nice comfy sweater over top. We don't want anybody getting a cold. I had a cold. I think I'm getting through it now. Larry gave it to me. She just walked over to me, handed it to me. She's like, here you go. Thanks for that cold. She said, achoo. Which is cold talk for you're welcome or happiness. I'm not sure which one. So I'm using this line to square my frame line. And then we're going to, my ruler shifted as I was making that mark. No, no. Did it again. Hold it tighter, it runs in it. Good heavens, man. So there's the side of our panel. And our next panel will start right there. And that's where we're going to draw some hands. So now that we have an understanding of the edge of our frame of reference here, our panel, we can go and finish the rest of the character's attire. Now, if you're worried about your picture getting covered up by all the word balloons that you're going to put in your drawing, don't be. It's the way that if you're working in a sequential way, a sequential approach to storytelling like I do, your words, one of the things that's really helpful is if you allow yourself the opportunity to move balloons around, to move the dialogue around the page. Oh, oh boy, all the students are up there. Hope I do well in my exam. Hope I do great. So the ability to be able to adjust those aspects in your composition, your total composition with the words and the pictures, is really beneficial. Some people are a little more rigid than I am about that, and they know it's got to be this because the placements are here, here, here. The artist dictates the placements of the balloons. So, as much as a writer's script is, yeah, part of the process, it is a visual medium, folks. I know people disagree with me. They're fully welcome to do that. I also, appreciate their perspective, but it doesn't work for me. I need the ability to make adjustments along the way. But again, I am largely working on my own here. So when I'm making images and stories and stuff like that, like it's just I can't get in arguments with other people because the other people's me, and that looks funny. So don't do that anymore, Christopher. You owe me your half for the pizza. There's nobody else there. What's he talking? What's he talking to? So here's our character coming together now, and I'm really lightly going to use the white on the clothing because, and I'm using the really soft side, so it's a little more granular than the shapes in the face. Because I want people to understand that this isn't her wrinkled skin vest that she's thrown over top of herself. This is her sweater. Trying to differentiate this from her face. So, although it does all kind of look, that's a little more focused. It all does kind of look similar in this way, but I'm doing my best. So hopefully there's a sense of what I'm trying to convey with this character is some dignity, some wisdom, some enjoyment and remembrance. And at the same time, we are establishing the story itself. And pardon me, I need a drink. We're establishing the story itself, and we're establishing, how the initial reflection here is going to contextualize into where we go with the story. So it's setting up, it's playing tennis. I think it's the easiest way I can refer to those interesting points in the story is that it's like a tennis match. If you lob an idea up, you serve an idea into the reader's consciousness in your narrative, and then you come back to it. If you did so clearly in the first place, the reader should well be able to say, "Oh, right, I get it." It's sort of like riding a bike. It's that same sort of liberation and freedom and all the things that were described. And whoops, I'm so sorry. How bad did I smack my camera there? I get it now. It makes sense now. Okay, so there we are, back in frame. So when you're serving up that initial idea, when you're serving that conception up at the start of it, and then you call back on it, it should pay off. But I want, the conveyance of the character and their personality traits to come through and what they look like. If you're doodling characters, if you're designing things, give them a purpose. Like if everybody looks like a Ken doll, this person can throw a bus. You know, this person's having a very melancholic day. Um, Whatever the ideas of those characters have, try to physically exude that in the character themselves. It just makes it easier for the reader to have a clue about, hey, what's going on? Why are they so happy as they're, you know, or so flat faced, so passive as somebody swinging a baseball bat around? How does that character come through? Hey, Liz, welcome aboard. So I've got a few slideshows up now. I've got a whole bunch more that I'm going to start posting. I hope people enjoyed yesterday's walkthrough of the pages that are going to be in One Page Volume 3. Tell all your friends. Tell a whole bunch. Chris just dated a hippopotamus for no, I didn't. But have you ever done hunting with a bull? Anyways. So here's our character coming through. Still don't have a name for him. So I'm going to go with my go-to until a name is decided for this character. She's going to be called Antor, the Chameleon Man. Hello, I am Antor, the Chameleon Man. Bet you didn't see me. I blend in. So the craft paper has really been helpful for us. It's really provided us with all these great little value kicks, a third color into everything that we're drawing. I mean, we're not drawing that third color; it's already there, but that's part of it, right? Ready to go. What time we got? Oh, we're doing pretty good here. All right, so just get this in, and then what I'm going to do is start getting these highlights on the opposite side of the outfit. Where the light hits more directly. Okay, so here's our first character. And what we're able to do with this is to have her have a fond reminiscence about when she was young and riding a bike. And that introduces her first story point. But it's also introduced her and so on and so forth, as I said earlier. I got Rod Stewart stuck in my head. I don't know about you. So there is our first character. Now, rather than drawing the background, let's get on to panel 2. Right away, Chris? Yes. So the idea here being to draw the hands now. Okay, so this will be our second panel. And I'm just going to, you know what, let's just go for it. So I want one hand resting on the other, but leaving enough space up here for dialogue and enough space down below. What for? Dialogue. And well, yeah, let's go. So I'm going to put one hand here. I thought I would approach things in slightly different ways each time to try to make it accessible to everybody. So these little marks are telling me where the whole hand is. And that way, I'm doing the math in advance. We're getting the math all worked out. And figuring out the shapes of her hands, of her fingers. Okay, so now we're going to keep on this direction. I might do something with the back of her hand. Just a moment. But you can start to see some separations in the fingers, and I'll come in with the white, make it easier to see in a sec. I watched Predator Badlands the other day. I realized something, actually. Last night, I realized this. We have something called Tubi, and Tubi. Or not Tubi. And there's a lot of international programming on it. I get such a kick out of Korean comedies. My gosh. It's because I like bonker comedies. It's just bonker things. And, but those are released few and far between. Mostly it's things like, I don't know, Barbie? I don't know. So Korean comedies all tend to be bonkers. Like I was watching a film last night about a blind lady who wants to see a UFO. And it's a romantic comedy involving a bus driver who she thinks is 3 separate people. And it's so charming and it's so witty and it's so quirky. In this small little neighborhood, this little village neighborhood that they live in, there's a husband and a wife, and the wife is always hula hooping. And they have a daughter who hula hoops all the time as well. And there's no explanation for that. it's just this is what the wife does. She's standing there at their shop outside and just hula hooping away. And it's just fun, you know? This is just, again, like what we're talking about earlier, finding the characteristics of the individuals in your projects, right? So in this context, here's a lady who hula hoops all the time. And that's so great. Like to me, that's just fantastic because if your takeaway in a crowd scene is that there's an interesting complexity to characters that maybe some people may consider, oh, that's a one note thing. Maybe, but you remember that note. You know, you remember the fact that she's always hula hooping. And there's payoffs if you can connect that to your story later, right? Like just this sort of one-off random thing on the side. Why is this person always hula hooping? So there's a young man who wears a priest's outfit half the time, and he's so exuberant with life and everything. But he's the one who saw the UFO and has been explaining it to everyone. But anytime he gets subsidence money and he runs screaming through the streets, $100, $100, and all the neighborhood children follow him, like chase him through the street. What context does that have with everything? It's just an interesting characteristic of this one person. And how do you pay that off later? Like these are the little considerations to have, right? But just a great story with an incredible ensemble of characters, and all of them have their own quirky bits of identity. I love it. I love stuff like that. The one character has a relationship with their sister as their best friend for 10 years, but their sister lives in Norway and they just talk on the phone for 10 years. It's crazy. I was with the Dollarama, so I asked them to pick up some colored pencils. I literally have no yellow. Nowhere. Nada. So I have to buy a whole pack again, Crayola brand. Get individual Prismacolors in the town an hour from me, which I'm not into traveling to. I don't blame you. Yeah, I there's a lady at that on Sunday she was showing me her coloring books. Her name's Anne. She's so super cool. Anne is the last 3 pages of her coloring. There's no yellow in them at all. Same problem for Anne. She ran out of yellow. And rather than making things crazy complicated in the world, I just went and bought, a few marker sets for her, just so she has this diversity of colors, but most particularly, she has enough yellow. So I'm going to give that to her on Sunday. Okay, I've been building the structure of this enough. Let's get some white in here so it's a little easier to see. So I'm drawing her hands, and I've got one hand resting on the other hand. So this is where I'm coming at this next panel. And in some instances in storytelling, the longer a panel, the larger a panel is, the more time we spend on it, the less, the shorter a panel is, what did I say? The smaller a panel is, the less time we spend on it. The longer or larger a panel it is, the more time we spend on it. But is it necessarily that important for big story beat visually if you're expressing important key points textually? So some people say it has to be this big for this action, and it has to be this small if it's not action. And I don't necessarily agree. It can be this big because this is, the static image, which you're hopefully is connecting to the reader. That is an example as the dialogue they're expressing in this panel is about. We get older, life changes, and we don't ride a bike like we used to. And so as we're doing that, a great way to express age as we get older is that my hand doesn't look like it did when I was 12. hands are great for that. So there's merit in having a larger panel for these hands, but this panel is far more about story points. But hopefully that's starting to look like a hand. I did notice in the pages yesterday all kinds of textures. Skills, you got skills. Oh, that's very nice. Chris could never ride a bike. Well, I mean, there's a million reasons, why we can or we can't. One of my sons, I tried teaching him to ride a bike when he was younger, and he just never took to it. And another one of my sons, he tried to ride his bike on the highway every morning to go to work. I'm like, what are you doing? Yeah, I'm going to work. Yep. So there's no club for the cool kids if you can ride a bike. That's a weird requirement to have to be in that club. Don't join it. Don't join it. So I'm using the brown again, using that intermediate color in between the blacks, or in this case, really, it's a gray. And it just comes out as a gray. Chris said I could skate very well. Well, see, there's the flip side of it. I'm the opposite. When pond would freeze over, and as a kid down the hill from where I grew up, I was stuck in net because it doesn't matter how many times I fall down, just as long as I fall down in front of the puck. I was playing hockey. Which means I never got, the motivation to go and skate around better and faster because I didn't want to let them big kids down, letting goals in the net. So I practiced on the net stuff. The big kids wouldn't let me play with them. Yeah. Okay. So here's the start of our hand. I don't know about you, but I often count the fingers. The reason that I do that is that I don't want to shortchange a character. And why they only got 3 fingers? Oh yeah. Or why they got 5 fingers? Oh no. So yeah, I count the fingers. So I'm putting in the wrist. I'm starting to define the wrist from the other arm, and so that this hand is resting on top of your other hand. But I'm just drawing top down, so that's why I'm doing it this way. I say top down, and I still have to finish all of the folds and the clothes and the things like that, but we'll get there. So yeah, thanks everybody for hanging out yesterday and checking out the new pages of the book. And if you didn't get a chance to see that, you're more than welcome to check out yesterday's video. I do a page by page roll through of what's in One Page Extravaganza 3. This book has been ready since November. I just have not had the ability to get it, put out. One thing or another has come up. Not some trivial things either, important things. But enough already. Get the book out, Ronson. What are you doing? I'm gonna eat some of them biscuits. Yeah, butter biscuits. Watch a movie with Gary Busey in it too, and he's stuck in my head now. So, here's our fingers coming in here. So now we're starting to get our hand. And I haven't really pushed a lot of the high contrast in here yet, just because I like to get foundation done first, and then emphasis. And that process for me helps me to better manage it. So now it may be different for the next person. They just draw that as they go, but not this Texadero. It's a Happy Days joke. So, yeah, that's why I go about things in specific ways. I don't know why I. Linda says, Liz, I hope you got your yellow. Yeah, it's important. I hope that I remember to give Anne her markers on Sunday. She's lovely. She has a Zimmer frame. Yeah, here we go. Maybe I'll show her this page. So I've got. Can you rate press level as in one light and 10 for very hard pressing? I think I'm over pressing. So, okay, well, so this is a 1. Okay, this is a 2. This is a 3. And so you can see how it gets darker, right? Here is a 4, right? And so each time it's just more pressure. There's a 5. So hopefully you're seeing a transition of value. So by the time so when I'm putting a mark in like this, I'm actually pressing the paper. I'm actually pressing down with the pencil. I'm not trying to kill it, but I'm making a solid opaque mark intentionally. And hopefully that helps to explain the variations in surface. So you know that this is closer. This is a more raised area, whereas this is a more receded area. That's how I wound up. I'm off camera for this. This is off camera. Hopefully you can see these. That's how I wound up with hand cramps, which was the first. Oh no. Yeah, don't press the don't. You're not trying to emboss the page. You're trying to get the variations in value. That's what you're trying to do. But you don't have to hurt yourself, or you shouldn't anyways. If you are, buy a different pencil. Oh, I'm so sorry, Chris. I'll move that and everybody. I'll move that down. So here it is, right? So you couldn't see the top of her head either then. I apologize. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I've only gone that high because I can erase these ones off. If I'm for number 10, you get the idea. So yeah, it's all about apply pressure. So this is about a 5. Right? And this is about a 4. Shade it out. This is about a 3. I don't know if that helps. It's me drawing the wrist. Yeah, I apologize for that, everyone. I wish I was aware of that earlier. Right? What a stinker, huh? What a stinker I am. Nice drawing, monkey boy. Can you put it in camera so the rest of us can see what you're talking about? Way to go, Christopher. That's me doing that for you. So, yeah. So in this instance, where I'm putting these little marks here, ding, 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 right, is the idea to express the wrinkles without using black line art to do it. right? Allowing that light brown color to come up through in between these three spots. Just as we've let the brown of the paper move through in other areas. This is a light application of the black pencil. This is a hard application of the black pencil. It's a hard point, right? It's a very soft point in the chin. I think the 5 ways to light color from light to intense is more than enough, or you'll end up more confused than this. Oh yeah, it works. Could you show me the different pressure points of applying pencil crayon from a scale of 1 to 75, please? Here's 1. Didn't even touch the paper. Here's 75. You just hold the paper up, go, just jam through it. 5 is perfect. That's less. That's good. So now I'm finding the very serious crease lines in the wrist at the base of the hand here, and looking for those shadows under down at the bottom of the hand. You know, I mean, the hand's going to continue all the way down here, but you see what I'm saying? Is that this is where the bunching occurs in our skin, more specifically hers, our characters. You got You Wear It Well by Rod Stewart stuck in my head, folks. Small Faces. So you can see our hand shape now. 7 says wonderful. Oh, thanks, 7. There we go. Much more focused now. So this is the hand shape coming together now. And up here at the top where the bunching is that I've got some little, I'll show you with the white. See the little ridging in the skin? A little bunching. Yeah. So now, hopefully, it's. Who did my theme song? That's a great question, Liz. I'm glad you asked. Jim Luan. Jim is an amazingly talented performer. And the only thing he did is that he used the voice modulator. So he's singing that, but he used the voice modulator to make him sound like a lady. But, he recorded it all and sang it and just changed his voice. He does that. If you go to Jim, Lujan, if you look up his channels, he'll change his voice a little so it sounds a little more, country and western. Like he does this, he's just having fun. But he has all kinds of music that he does himself. He's a brilliant animator. He's been on the stream before. You look up old interview in the interview playlist. There's at least one appearance of Jim in there. So yeah, I did some voice I did some voice stuff for him for his last film, The Full Fungus. It's about a jazz musician named Mink Fungus, and he disappeared, and he took with him his legendary Full Fungus missing album. He's a lot of fun. I was a bowling announcer and radio commentator. Yeah, I've also done the Big Thug voice. You want me to get him now, boss? Yeah. all that sort of fun. So there's our top hand coming in. Thank you for sharing that, Chris. Appreciate it. Um, so here is her one hand resting on what will be another hand below it. And, considering a couple things, if this is her wrist and this is the main section of her hand, the back of her hand here, palm underneath, and then here's where her fingers start to separate out. So it's figuring out the spacing of these things to keep the hand size the same. You don't want one hand 6 times the size of the other. What? So I know I haven't drawn anything about the Zimmer frame yet, but the next panel, the intention of the next panel is to continue on with this narrative. I'm holding off on that towards the second half because I want to really drive in her as a young girl riding her bicycle. Jim's a fun guy. He is. He really is. Quite smart. Very bright guy. Very talented. He's got me trying to, between him and Chris and Paul Payton, I'm feeling compelled to animate a little project here. So, one finger, two finger. Red finger, blue finger. And then here's our final finger. And knuckle coming through. That knuckle's knuckled under the other hand. I got a friend of mine who he cannot stop whistling and humming songs. And he has this X amount of people that watch his like follow his YouTube and watch his things. And every now and then, in the course of his his recording, there he goes, ah. And once we got to know each other, I asked, why are you constantly doing that? And he goes, it's me realizing every time I demonetize myself. Because apparently that's a thing. When you have X amount of people following you, YouTube monetizes it and enables you to get return. And he knows every time he does something where he's singing somebody's song or talking too much about a certain subject matter, not in a crazy creepy thing. I mean just media stuff or things like that. Then he goes, oh. He just cracks me up. I don't know his link right now. I'll have to look it up. I can't remember what the name of his thing is. I'll have to let people know. Good fun. So here is the fingers on the other hand. So now this ideally is coming across as this hand resting on that hand. Fingers. Sort of expediting this process as opposed to the way I build it out normally. Just so people just, what's the other hand gonna look like? Hurry it up. Hurry up, guy. Not waiting all day. This is not the sound of people that time to tune in here. This is the kind of comments you see some people making for one another. Good heavens. I saw it. There's I can't remember something Cynic. I can't remember. But somebody was like, how long does it take you to draw things? This drawing's been going on for a while. You can see this comment in the chat. I'm like, oh, what are you doing? You came here to help, and enjoy engaging in this process, and don't rush them. For goodness sakes. That was me. There's a little pop on the surface there. Not pop, like soda pop as in like a little piece of paper information that really grabbed a hold of the pencil and made that blank spot. So we got that out of there. Studio, 12 colors, $1.50. There you go. Bing bong. It doesn't matter. I mean, unless you're doing something for the art gallery for your posterior sake, posterity. I know it's posterity. Don't be too hung up on the quality of the materials that you use. It doesn't have to cost $1 million to work. People will buy the fanciest. They'll have all the sets and all of the colors and all of the things, and they, doesn't mean they can do anything with it. There's engage with the stuff. You shouldn't need to buy all the expensive stuff. You just shouldn't. That's just the culture we live in. One thing about culture, I learned this from a fellow named George. Sometimes it's just a club. Thank you very much. 1980s joke, folks. Try the veal. So hopefully you're understanding the shape of them there hands. Oh, I'm not paying attention to time at all. What have I been doing here? So I'm just going to put a couple spots down here just to give people a sense of where this is going. And then I'm going to wrap it up in a couple minutes. So thanks everybody that's been coming out and joining in with stuff and taking part in chat. And even if you're not taking part in chat, thanks for coming and hanging out. I hope there's something that somebody gets out of things, and any way that I can help, and encourage people to do some happy stories and express themselves. And yeah, I'm working on a couple projects that I'm going to start showing people soon. One of which has been very difficult for me to try to figure out, but I'm getting there. And another of which is concluding an 11-issue story series that I did 10 years ago that I never got a chance to complete because of circumstances. And yeah, I just got, distracted. That's the circumstances. I'm like, oh, Chris is off. See you later, Chris. Thanks for coming and hanging out. This is like, I'm like, Laz, did you get me a slush too? We forget. That's okay. I don't need a slushie. I'll have some more later. Those aren't the same thing at all. Now you're engaging one of those wrong. So there's the shape of the hand coming through. And hopefully that makes it a little clear to understand where things are going here. allowing that third color, that tertiary value that's kicking through here, the brown, before I'm worried about making all kinds of emphasis marks. So, but this is just kicking in some value down here quick to sort of tell you where we're going. Where are we going on this here picture? So yeah, so I really enjoy this paper. I can't, if you have a staples nearby or whatever they would call it in the United States, staples. Okay, I know it's not staples. So this is where I got these long sheets, and I think they were something like $20 for 30 sheets. I'll take it. And maybe not. Don't quote me on that. Don't go in there and say, "Oh, my friend said they're 20." Because the kid will look at you and say, "Well, I'm sorry, man, they're this much," and that's going to get you nowhere. But yeah, I really enjoy this paper. This is the craft paper, the one that I'm using. There's gray, black, white, cream color, 1 foot by 2 foot across. So these are great. Did you see you're doing live YouTube? Did you see people? Who knew that was allowed? Oh no, I haven't seen anybody doing it. Maybe they are. I don't know. I don't. I wouldn't pay attention anyways. Just as long as those drawings are getting done, or the chateau is getting renovated, or whatever, the Stuart Hicks is talking about, architecture, whatever it is that I'm watching. I tend to be focused on the subject and not what the person's doing. So there's where the shape of the other arm is going. If that helps at all to understand that this is the second arm, and then this one is the first. So there'll be lots of light on top and more shadow down at the bottom. But there's the quick and silly of it. And these hands, this is where I'm going to have a handle with a break of a Zimmer Zimmer frame. So this is where we're going to start to introduce that element in. And then the next panel I'm going to draw is a young person riding a bike. So we're underway. We're underway, folks. And thanks everybody very much for coming, hanging out with me. And I hope that there's some interesting things that you're finding here. And yeah, I'd love to see what you're working on. So feel free to send me a link or whatever and share. But if you've got suggestions for a one-page story idea that you want to pass along to me so that I can, put it in the mix, this suggestion came from Linda. Thanks very much, Linda. Okay, gang, that's it for me for today. I think I'm going to be here tomorrow at the same time. So if you're around, stop in and say hello. But thanks everybody for coming on out. And thank you very much for moderators with the mostest. And yeah, I hope everybody has a great day. All right. Bye for now.